Hello, LAWsome listeners. We just finished up an interview with Bret Berlin. He is with the Miami-Dade Bar Association and really comes with a unique angle for the legal profession. It seems like bar associations have had some ups and downs, especially since the pandemic. And many bar executives are continuing to work to try to get more participation because there's a ton of value with that participation, which Bret really hits on and enlightened me on some key things that attorneys can get from their participation in their local bars. Anything you picked up on that conversation, Matt?
Yeah, this was one of my favorite conversations that we've had so far. Brett's just a terrific guy, brings such a unique background to his position as the executive director. And you can tell the passion that he has for the organization really comes through. And I think our listeners are going to find a lot of very, really practical takeaways on how to get the most out of their involvement in their bar associations. Just a terrific guest. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're on the fence, maybe of getting more involved or investing a little more time, this is definitely the episode for you. We hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another LAWsome episode. I'm your host, Tanner Jones, along with my co-host, Matt Smyers. Today's episode is with Bret Berlin. Bret is the executive director of the Miami-Dade Bar, and ConsultWebs is a very proud sponsor of the bar. Today's topic, well, it's bar talk, the hidden value of voluntary bar associations. Welcome, Bret. Glad to have you join us.
Thank you. I appreciate not only our relationship with ConsultWebs, but I appreciate the invitation, being part of it.
Yeah, this is a really interesting concept, and I think it's largely a topic that's not really talked about too much in the national industry news related to law, and so it's always a fascinating way to bring something new into our LAWsome listeners' world here. And before we kind of drill down into some of those hidden values that I think we're all interested in learning more about, let's start with your background. You have a really interesting story. You mind maybe start with what kind of led you to this role? What was the journey about, and what ultimately put you in the spot of the Miami-Dade Bar?
I think this was really a happy accident more than anything else. I mean, my background is I have a master's in business administration, and I've worked in many different industries. That's led me to travel around the country doing a lot of different things, which has been a great background and experience for me. I'm originally from Miami and ultimately wanted to settle down here and do a lot less traveling. So I've been focusing on things that would keep me here and more deeply involved in the community. And I got very involved with a lot of nonprofits and a lot of community work here in Miami. Coming into COVID, it's really kept me locked to my house, and it was unnatural for me. I'm a very social person. I like to be out into the community. And a dear friend of mine became president of the Miami-Dade Bar and has been talking to me for some time to come out. You need to get back out into the world. COVID is subsiding. Come help me relaunch the Miami-Dade Bar together. And after months of talking to me, I came in with her, and it's been a really great opportunity. I mean, my background has been working with nonprofits and businesses, but also doing some fundraising and a lot of the skill sets that lead to success in bar associations. And it's just been a great adventure and a lot of fun. Been doing it now for about 4.5 years.
So, Brett, what were some of your primary goals when you first took the position, and what's been your primary mission as the executive director?
So my primary mission was really just to stabilize the organization. I mean, coming out of COVID, I think a lot of bar associations really had to transform into being completely a virtual resource, which is not the promise of what these organizations could and should be. And so really my first goal was to stabilize financially. We were not in a good financial position when I was brought on board, to build a new team, to change the culture into one of being safe, stable, solvent, and growing, and then giving back to the community. And so really my first goal was to turn the organization around, internally build a team with the same vision, and then get back into As I said, I'm a very social person. Social involvement, getting out of from behind a Zoom camera and back to in-person events. And then ultimately, which is what I think a lot of the promise of Bar Association is, to focus on community service and giving back to the community.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue into our next question and point. And as you know, most of our listeners are lawyers, and most of them are in the personal injury space. Um, so, based on your experience, what are some of the benefits of bar associations? What key benefits do they bring for attorneys and participation in their local bar?
Uh, my answer is going to be different than other people in my shoes. And so I'll just preface it by saying that. Um, I think when you talk to most bar associations, and indeed most lawyers, they will tell you that the benefit is to go to events, to meet the judges, and to get CLE credits, because that's, I think, on the surface, what people think of bar associations. I, I I fundamentally disagree with that, because there are so many ways that you could get to meet the judges and so many ways that you can get your CLEs, that if that is all we as bar associations are offering, then we are failing the community. It's my opinion that what we're really building is a community. One of the things that I did when I joined the bar is I completely rebranded us, and so we have different logos, different colors, and I wanted to kind of hit refresh and start over with what the promise of building a community is. And we embraced the logo, the Miami-Dade Bar, "You Belong," because I think that lawyers are different people. They are trained to spot issues in different ways. They are trained in techniques of speech, and I think that makes lawyers different than the vast majority of human beings out there. Uh, and there aren't as many places that lawyers feel comfortable than they do with their own kind and with their own people. They have a very specific and valuable skill set. And if they focus and dig into that, which so many of them do, it can lead not only to success financially and with their practices, but it could also lead to them to really giving back to the community in a way that nobody else can. And so, really, what I'm trying to build and what I think bar associations truly can offer is a sense of community with other people like them, people who have these magical skill sets that very, very few other folks in the world have, and to use those tools to help the community, to help the towns in which they live and the communities in which they live, because we can give back in a way that nobody else can, especially now where there's so much changing in the world. With new government initiatives, there are people who have fears about their livelihoods, fears about what the future holds, and really the best people equipped to help guide those folks are attorneys, to help them spot those issues and lead the way. But really, because attorneys are so focused on their practices, that really it's time for bar associations to stand up and provide those kind of outlets to help the community in ways that really nobody else can.
I really like that, Brett. Yeah, I mean, the old adage of "we're stronger together." I mean, there's so much truth to that, and we're seeing a really, uh, I would say, just over the last 10 years, there's a rapid growth in the concept of masterminds within the legal profession, and that's really the heart behind that is someone recognizing with humility that I don't have all the answers, and that there's someone out there who has lived through the pain, the challenges, the struggles, whatever it is that I'm going through in my practice, and coming together strengthens it. The what I hear as you're sharing that is that the even bigger power. Yes, there's a commonality in that mastermind concept, but the even stronger point there is that it's a localized commonality, and really allows others to come together and share the good and the bad and learn from one another in that community effort, which I applaud. I think that's a powerful mission and one that a lot of attorneys can get behind.
Right. And
I
I think attorneys want more than just a club. They want to give back to the community. They want to feel good about their association with their local bar associations. And so it's time for bar associations to stand up and offer that.
What are some of the more effective ways that attorneys can get more involved and maximize the value of their bar
Sure.
membership?
So really, it the He's- there's really one way. It's to get involved. It's to call your local bar association and offer leadership. Most bar associations are not run by professionals. The larger bar associations, like the Miami-Dade Bar, we have 6 full-time employees. But even so, there are so many. There's an infinite number of projects that we can do. But what I need are lawyers to stand up and saying, "I'm willing to take a leadership role." For most of the bar associations that are not run by professional staff, that's what they're looking for is leadership. And I'll tell you, that's a benefit. It's a cost and a benefit because if you are willing to invest just a little bit of time to provide some guidance and some leadership, uh, it will also set you up as a leader in your community, and people will start coming to you, to use the language that you just presented, as masterminds in certain areas. I'll give you a perfect example. We had a few years ago a disaster in our community. Many of you may have heard about the condo collapse in Surfside. Um, the Miami-Dade Bar was there on day one with support of a lot of the elected officials and the judges. We were, in fact, appointed by the court to manage all of the pro bono efforts to support those efforts. And we had a handful of attorneys step forward and raise their hand and say, "I want to help. When it comes to this area of the law, please send those folks to me, and I'll create a community of attorneys to help contribute for those that were dealing with probate issues, others for those that were dealing with the personal injury issues. And we had some that had family court issues that needed to be resolved. We needed some family lawyers. And the fact that the community came together, really, it just came down to a handful of people raising their hand and said, "I'll take those initial calls and help out." And once we had a few people stand up, before we knew it, we had a team of almost 80 lawyers volunteering their time helping with just that one disaster.
That's fantastic. You mentioned getting involved in specific areas of the law, and obviously with what you do, how should we say this diplomatically? You have practices of law that are not necessarily aligned at all times, right? But I think what you're speaking to here is a commonality, is a sense of community for lawyers in general, regardless of the area of practice, and when those areas of practice oftentimes are at odds with one another.
Well, from my perspective, I don't see where we're at odds. When you're helping someone who has suffered a disaster, no one's at odds with that. People want to contribute, want to give. I'll tell you right now, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, especially in a community as diverse as Miami is, there's a lot of uncertainty here around immigration. And whether you support or don't support what these legal changes are, you can still get behind someone who is suffering a family crisis where they don't understand what are the documents that I should be carrying with me. And that's the kind of thing everyone should get behind to help support community members who are at a loss, who don't understand what their rights are and what they should and shouldn't be carrying. And that's an area where we can step up and help our community. And I think in any crisis, in any change, what lawyers have is an understanding of the law and how to protect yourselves. And we should be there to helping the community.
I agree. I love that, Brett. Any final thoughts you have with respect to the Bar Association? Anything that you would encourage attorneys to be considering when it comes to their participation?
I will say, I mentioned changes in the law, but beyond that, one of our charges is to create a sense of community around every section of the law. For example, we are now building a tax section that will be focusing just on changes in tax law and helping people. When people have questions, when the media has questions about things, and they call the Bar Association, we should have a community of leadership around every section of the law so that we can be there when the media, when the community, when anyone needs help or guidance, and also where we can start building that community. We have a community around the workers' comp area of law, around tax, around maritime, around family law, around personal injury, around insurance defense. So this way, by building those communities, we are serving not only those communities, but also the community at large. And if your bar association doesn't have a section on each of these areas, that means there's an opportunity for leadership. Go to your bar association and say, "Hey, I practice health law. And I don't see a lot of programming you have in health law. Would you like for me to would you like me to help put some of that together? And the bar associations would not only be appreciative, but would help set you up as a leader in that section.
It's a really wise point. I mean, the legal profession has built they've built individual practices through referrals, through connections, and I know you're not necessarily directly saying this, but there's reciprocity in this concept of being able to give back to the bar, your local bar associations, giving back to the community, because by doing that, and whether it's healthcare law or whether it's medical malpractice or whatever it may be, by stepping out there and really putting yourself in that leadership role, not only are you supporting the local community, you're establishing yourself further as an expert in that area,
100.
and you're encouraging referrals over time. So that is if there's any other driver behind there is certainly a benefit from a business perspective to get out there purely as a networking play.
No, it will help your business grow. It will help you as a person grow also when you're working with the judiciary. You're always dealing with issues of professionalism and ethics, so it will help you grow as a person. There's programs, of course, in health and wellness, because that's part of our charge as well. And it will help your involvement and your ability to give back to the community. There's really no downside in getting involved in your bar association. It's a small commitment of time, but but it pays dividends in so many ways.
We've talked a lot about the role in the bar association in helping the community. Can you talk a little bit about the benefits to members in supporting one another from
Absolutely. Well, you've already Tanner's already spoken a little bit about how you can grow your business. But what we're seeing for a lot of the smaller and medium-sized firms, they're getting some real benefit because they're creating referral networks amongst themselves. And that's something that's just growing organically when you have a group of family attorneys that all of a sudden are getting into something where they need to get a receiver, or they need someone who understands a little bit more about tax or valuations. Communities are growing around each of these sections so that you can help get the experts you need, because smaller firms don't have sometimes the benefits of what a big firm has, where they have a department for each of those areas. And so for the small and medium-sized firms, I think they're getting benefits in two ways. One, they're getting business out of it. And two, they're being able to help their clients in a more comprehensive way.
I
Uh,
would imagine I would imagine there is a culture of mentorship really within the bar association amongst attorneys, especially those in the same field.
I find that grows naturally, whether a bar association has a program specifically for it or not. And it's something we've been building on, but can be doing better. It just happens. I mean, uh, uh, our more senior lawyers are calling themselves mentors when they get involved, and it's something that I think is helping people in many different ways. For the larger firms, they get a different value add. Like, I'll tell you, a lot of the larger firms, what they're telling me they're having a challenge is building an internal mentorship program. They're having trouble building a, 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 a firm identity and a culture. Because what's happening is in the bigger firms, a lot of people aren't working in the offices. And so their younger associates are not really getting the same kind of mentorship and training within the firm that used to happen pre-COVID. And so now bar associations are stepping up and filling that gap when someone needs a mentor and may feel a little less comfortable reaching to a senior partner in their big firm. They're finding that mentor from maybe a former partner from that firm that they found through the bar association.
I'd like to take a slightly different angle because I know we've attended a number of bar executive events, and we have a lot of bar executives who listen to the podcast. And so pivoting to them, you mentioned in the beginning of this discussion, Brett, about how the pandemic really shifted us. It not only attorneys, not only bar executives and bar associations, but truly globally, but especially in business. And you mentioned that after coming out of that, there has been a real paralysis or a hesitancy to really invest in some of these social events, get them away from their computers. And so I would be really interested, what have you learned in this process that you could impart some of that wisdom on other bar executives who may be listening, who are dealing with the same challenge of just getting participation, getting people away from their desks?
Gosh, I am learning every day along with everyone else. So first, let me start by saying I don't have all the answers. What I am doing is I'm changing expectations. Um, the you know it used to be that we could host a monthly luncheon and 300 people would show up for lunch. Those days are behind us because those folks aren't all downtown working each day anymore. And so the expectations of the several hundred people coming every month for a meeting or a lunch it just doesn't happen anymore here. What we're doing is starting to focus much more specific targeted events for specific practice areas. And in that sense, we're having many, many, many more events. But looking at our success metric of, look, if we have 50 people showing up for lunch for the tax section or for the family section, that's a huge success for us. And so what we're doing is planning many, many more events. We've had, I think last year we had over 120 events. Smaller events focus very specifically on one section. And we're getting a lot of success from that because I think it's building those deep connections, much more personal connections. It also helps us with our relationship with sponsors like ConsultWebs, where they can, when they come to an event, they know exactly who that market is that they're meeting with, and they know that this is just our personal injury lawyers. We still do big events every other month where we try to bring everybody together, but the character is different. Our big bench and bar, for example, which we used to be our big annual event where we'd rent out a whole hotel ballroom and we'd have 3 or 4 rooms going all day, that we've moved to an online. We started with creating a conference called Miami LawCon, where we did it all online during COVID. And we've since expanded that to Florida LawCon, which is we do an annual program just for attorneys in Florida. We market it statewide. And this year we had 800 people show up for 63 and a half hours of CLE credits in every different category you could imagine. Everyone from CEOs of major law firms to general counsels of publicly traded firms we've had Supreme Court justices, we've had John Morgan, we've had actors and writers, and with the technology, we're learning new ways to serve our communities in a way that makes sense.
Brett, that's everything I had. I am so grateful for your willingness to participate and join us on this episode. I know both maybe lawyers locally in Florida and or bar executives across the country could have an interest in digging in a little bit more with you on a one-on-one. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, well, my name is Bret, B-R-E-T, and you can reach me at Bret@Miami-Dade Bar.org.
Easy enough. Well, thanks again, Brett.
Thank you for your time. I enjoyed it.